What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be taking a very special look at the all-new 2022 Subaru Outback Wilderness. So the Wilderness here got announced back in March of this year, and we finally got one here, so we're ready to take a look at it in person. Now, one thing that I really wanted to do when I first saw this vehicle was just compare it with the Onyx XT, because I already felt like that was Subaru's kind of more wilderness, sporty, off-roady type of vehicle. But I guess not. I guess they had the Wilderness in mind as well. But we will be doing a separate video taking a detailed look at the differences between the Onyx XT. The Onyx XT is over there and the Wilderness over here. So definitely hit subscribe so you don't miss that. It may be out by the time you're watching this, but if not, shortly after. So definitely you don't want to miss that, because really they're very similar in a lot of ways, but the Wilderness has a lot of nice accents that we're going to take a look at in just a second. Now the Wilderness here sits kind of squarely towards the middle of the Outback lineup. You still have the Premium, the Limited, the Onyx XT, the Touring XT, and the Wilderness is kind of somewhere in the middle there. This one we're looking at here as equipped is about $40,000. I'm not sure if this has all of the options that are available, but it's pretty close. So just something to keep in mind if you're trying to consider where you want to fall in the lineup. So one of the most distinct things about the Wilderness here is this front end. It is so noticeable, and when you see it driving down the road, you know that's a special Outback. You may not be sure why, but you can tell that it's not your traditional Outback. Starting with this cladding, you can just tell how far up this cladding goes. It goes right up to the headlight cluster here. Now, speaking of that, this is an LED cluster here with your high beam assist as well. You have LED fog lights down there, just your traditional halogen tail lights. Unfortunately, I don't know why they don't go ahead and give you a full suite, but you know, I'm not a designer at Subaru. But these fog lights are absolutely killer. They kind of look like a big Gatling gun. Super awesome with these little hexagonal shapes. We'll kind of see that pattern run throughout the vehicle as well. And you can tell that this cladding is aggressive because it has these three lines, and those three lines add like, I don't know, 60 horsepower at least. So you know this is a bad wagon here. Moving on over, you've got this hexagonal design on the front of the grille here. This is a redesigned front grille, big ol' Subaru badge. And instead of having your traditional kind of wings that you have on normal Subarus, you have this hollowed out look, which kind of matches the front grille. It's a super unique design, and I really like what they did here. You also have a 180-degree front-facing camera as well. I've got some gripes with it, but I'll talk about that once we hop inside, but it's nice to have nonetheless. Moving on down next to these awesome LED fog lights, you'll notice these copper accents here. Anytime you see those copper accents here on the Wilderness, those are contact points or touch points that Subaru wants to emphasize. So front tow hooks would be here. You'll also see them up on the roof rails, which we'll take a look at in just a sec. So anytime you see that, keep in mind it's a major contact point. You kidding me? And as these things always go, right as I'm about to talk about this hood accent here, a bird came by and took a big dump on it. So now you have a matte black hood decal with bird poop on it. That's an awesome accent that Subaru added. I really like the kind of contrast with the white bird poop and the matte black decal. Super unique. You won't see that on hardly any other Subarus. Good job on that one. Now under the hood, the Wilderness has the standard 2.4 liter turbocharged boxer engine, 260 horsepower, 277 pound-feet of torque, 26 miles per gallon highway, 22 miles per gallon city. That is down a little bit from the traditional 2.4 liter turbocharged that Subaru has, and that's just because of the retuned suspension, things like that. It'll take your, MPG down a tiny bit, but it's a nice, powerful engine. It's got a lot of pep in it, and they did a couple other adjustments to make the acceleration really nice here. Now, you may have noticed at first glance, this definitely has more ground clearance than a traditional Outback does have. 8.7 inches is the standard on almost all Subarus. Here on the Wilderness, you have 9.5 inches, so an additional 0.8 inches of ground clearance, which is definitely noticeable, not only visually, but also on the ride. In addition to your raised suspension, you also have increased approach angles from 18.6 degrees to 20 degrees. Your ramp breakover angle shifts from 19.4 to 21.2, and your departure angle gets quite a jump from 21.7 degrees to 23.6 degrees. They also revised the rear differential with a final drive ratio of 4.44 to 1, and the Lineartronic CVT that most of these have was modified to achieve an equivalent final drive ratio at the front wheels. You also get improved low-end torque at the wheels, resulting in a superior ability to climb grades up to 40%. And you also have the addition of a pressure sensor, which gives you improved control accuracy at low speeds. You do have standard dual function X mode as well on the Wilderness, so you're gonna get your normal snow and dirt, but also your deep snow and mud modes. And you get one feature that's exclusive to the Wilderness, and that's a new advanced feature for X mode, which allows your Wilderness to switch automatically from low speed managed driving to speeds over 25 miles per hour without interruption of power or performance, which is super fantastic. Then moving on back, you have this extended cladding over the wheel wells here, and it's gonna actually give you a little bit more width on the vehicle overall. It's just a tiny bit due to that raised element right here. And I'll have all the exterior dimensions on screen for you so you can see, but it's the same 191 inches long, tad bit wider because of that cladding, and you do get increased height because of that raised suspension. The Wilderness here sits on 17-inch alloy wheels in this awesome matte black finish that is exclusive to the Wilderness here. You also have these huge Yokohama Geolandar tires with the white embossed lettering around them, kind of an homage to the original Outback, which I think is a really nice touch, and these things look mean. It's a nice blend between off-road performance and normal just street driving. It's got a really nice feel to it for sure. Moving on back past that extended cladding, you have the beautiful and very Subaru-esque Wilderness badge right here. It's got some mountains and some pine trees and just reminds you of the Pacific Northwest. It's really great. And it's got those copper accents in it too, which you'll continue to see around the vehicle. Moving on back from that, you have these awesome matte black caps, which kind of mirror that matte black aluminum alloy wheel. Integrated turn signals, blind spot monitoring, they are heated, but they are manual folding. Now the entire roof rack system up here has been upgraded. So you have this ladder style roof rail now, which gives you some extra points of contact here, which allows you just to carry more weight overall. You have a crazy impressive static load limit of 700 pounds here on the Wilderness, which is awesome. You can put a tent up there. You can do a lot with 700 pounds of static load capacity. You also have 200 pounds of dynamic load capacity, so you can carry a lot more stuff when you're in motion. But again, those copper accents your contact points and these metal rails here, which give you a ton of additional capability. You also have some black cladding down at the bottom, and you have that Outback badging on your rear door, which comes in that same kind of copper color that we've seen throughout the rest of the vehicle. You also have a metal skid plate up underneath as well, which is just going to protect everything when you are off-roading, if you are off-roading in a $40,000 car, but it's there nonetheless for your protection. You also have your standard EyeSight driver assist system up top, which is going to give you a plethora of Subaru's award-winning safety features. So moving to the back of the Wilderness here, you'll notice that this same kind of massive black cladding continues on the back. Again, you have those copper accents on your touch points, parking sensors dotted around, really cool powder-coated Subaru badging, all-wheel drive badging, Outback badging, and then again, the beautiful Wilderness logo right there. Standard rear camera. You have a little bit of a spoiler up top to keep stuff off your back windshield. It is a blacked out windshield back here, which looks awesome. Rear wiper, and then you have the black cladding that goes around the lights, which gives it a really cool look. Again, these are just your halogen taillights, not LED. You do have reflectors here as well. On the Wilderness here, you do have a standard power liftgate and a couple other really cool features back here. You've got a ton of cargo space, but that's not new for the Outback. It's always had excellent cargo space. 32 cubic feet of space with the rear seats up. Fold them down, about 75 cubic feet of rear space. But you've got a couple really cool things back here. You do have this one-touch tilting cargo shade, which has just kind of become a staple here on some Subarus. You do have the levers back here to drop your rear seats. You have your awesome all-weather mats that have the Subaru Wilderness badge right dead center, which looks awesome. Not only that, they have this really cool kind of mountain or rock look on the actual mats themselves, which is a really nice detail. I really like that. Another really cool feature is that hidden up underneath is a full-size spare tire, which I know a lot of people, especially people that are going to be taking this off-road, this is a huge lifesaver and really gives them peace of mind when they are going to be on trails or camping sites and things like that. All your tools back here and a full-size spare tire up underneath. Another nice little touch that Subaru threw in for those people that do like to take this off-road or camping and things like that. You do have an LED rear light back here that's going to shine into the rear gate when you are trying to load things in at night. Now, one other thing I really like to mention for those people that are unfamiliar and don't own an Outback or haven't owned an Outback in the past, you do have a little button right here. Now, this little button, it's kind of to the right of the rear camera. It's a lock button, so you can push it to go ahead and lock the rear gate and the front doors as well. If you are getting stuff out of your trunk and you don't want to have to go in and press the lock button or use the key fob, you can hit that. But you can also use it to program a secret code into your Outback so that you're able to open the rear gate without the key fob in hand. You don't even need the key fob at all. So for those that are going out on the trail and don't want to carry the key fob in their pocket or a pouch or a backpack and things like that, you can put the key fob to sleep, store it in your car so it's safe, and then use the rear liftgate to actually unlock and lock your car. And now I made an entire video on how to set this secret passcode and a bunch of other secret features here on the Outback. If you're interested, check the link in the description or the card above. It'll really help you guys learn every little thing there is to know about your Outback. But that's just another cool feature, and I think it's great, again, that it's included here on the Wilderness, because a lot of people are gonna wanna do that. Store their key fobs safely in the car or other valuables safely in the car while they're out hiking, and then just be able to access everything again using that little button back in the back. So that's everything here on the liftgate. Let's go ahead and hop inside. All right, so now inside the cabin here, there's a lot of things that really make this thing stand out, and we're gonna talk about all of them here. A lot of them are little Easter eggs where they put the Wilderness badge or they added accents, and it looks fantastic. So let's jump right in. Now, if you go ahead and hit the standard push to start engine and turn that on, the little information cluster right past the steering wheel will actually put the Subaru Wilderness badge on screen. So you can tell that these graphics packages have been specifically tailored to the Wilderness here, which is really cool. There is also an instance of that over on the screen, which we'll take a look at in just a sec. But you have that same kind of copper accents around your analog gauges here. This steering wheel here, it's a leather wrapped steering wheel with this accent stitching, nice copper U shape here where this is traditionally just like silver. It's your normal Subaru steering wheel. Nothing really has changed except for this lane centering button. That is a relatively recent update. I think that came out first on the Outback last year in 2021. You got your volume controls for your media on the left side. Then you have your adaptive cruise control settings here and your lane centering button as well, like I just mentioned. Light wiper controls back here, couple buttons for your trunk height over on the left side. Over on the side, you have one touch up and down windows on all four windows, which is super nice to have. You also have your mirror adjustments here. Over on the door panels, a couple other nice accents. You have kind of this faux kind of carbon fibery looking texture over here by the door handles, and then this nice little Subaru Wilderness tag right here in that same kind of copper color. Soft touch leather on the door panels, as well as a soft touch rubber material. And then again, like I said, that carbon fiber E accent. It's not really carbon fiber, but it looks like it. As far as other materials in the cabin, you have kind of the same material that you have on the seats over above the glove box with your copper accent stitching, more of that faux carbon fiber with this little pocket with a rubber accent. Up top, you do have a black headliner, and that replaces the gray one. Just a little bit more rugged, same kind of scratchy material though. You have a standard 11.6-inch infotainment center here. This is Subaru's most recent Starlink system. It's got its pros and it's got its cons. It's a nice, bold, statement piece here in the middle of the car, but it's not my favorite system to use. Now, I've made a lot of videos on this, so if you're interested in a full breakdown of this system, I mean detail, check this video above on the 11.6-inch display. I've also got it linked in the description. And if you're a heavy CarPlay user and you really like that system, check out my video here on how they updated and fixed the CarPlay system here for the more recent Outbacks in the last 2 years here. So it's fine. You know what? It's fine. The navigation is what it is. I don't know if you guys will use built-in navigation. You'll probably end up using Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Waze, Google Maps, one of those different types of systems. But you do have navigation here powered by TomTom. You also have your radio, media, Bluetooth, like I said, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, which is not wireless, unfortunately. You do have to plug in for it. And then you have your vehicle settings, My Subaru, Subaru Starlink, a couple built-in things. You can use this little camera view button to access your forward-facing 180-degree camera. Now, I mentioned I have a little bit of a criticism, and it's a two-parter. One, it doesn't take up the entirety of this beautiful screen. You're really limited to about 6 inches worth of screen space, which is, for an 11.6-inch screen, it's not very much, and it's a little bit of a disappointment. Additionally, it's a pretty low resolution camera, I'll say that much. Same with the rear vision camera, unfortunately. It's a pretty low resolution camera, as you guys can see, especially compared to some of the other ones that are out there on the market. So do keep that in mind. It's functional, it works for what you need it to do, but it's not the highest quality out there. Now, I mentioned there were a couple nice accents here on the 11.6-inch display that let you know that you, in fact, have a Wilderness and not just a traditional Outback. Now, you can see a couple of these little accents kind of up top. So if you scroll over to your X mode settings here, you'll actually see a little rendering of your vehicle there. And you know it's a Wilderness because it's got all those copper accents all over it, and you've got that additional cladding. So that's really cool. Also, if you go into car info and you go to like driving statistics or advanced package or maintenance, you can see a rendering, a 3D rendering of your actual vehicle. It's definitely very distinct. You know that that's the Wilderness trim, and you know that you're driving one because this menu has been completely updated to reflect that. it's a whole new head unit according to Subaru. You can access your dual X mode there, so you can switch to snow and dirt or deep snow and mud. You can see all of your off-road information, so your approach angles and kind of what your car's at and things like that. Lots of great information in here. And again, this is a fully featured system here. They didn't really hold back anything. It's just the implementation can be a little bit rough sometimes with this system. You also have on-screen controls for your dual zone climate control, but you also have physical controls on the sides of the display as well, so you can use that if you want to. One other thing that's exclusive to the Wilderness is you do have a roll angle indicator now. That is something you cannot get on any other models. It's just here on the Wilderness display. You do have an auto-dimming rearview mirror, universal home-link garage door controls, and a built-in compass, which is always handy when you're off-roading. Again, like I said, eyesight assist up here, little sunglasses holder, you got your SOS buttons, and then you've got your sunroof controls up here, which you do have a sunroof out there. I forgot to mention that when we were outside, but it's not a panoramic or anything, just a standard normal moonroof here with your little controls to slide it back. Moving on back down, you do have an electronic parking brake, Qi-enabled wireless charging pad, 3.5mm jack, and 2 USB-A ports for charging and for using your wired CarPlay or Android Auto. Moving on back, you have your Lineartronic CVT right here. It does have an 8-speed manual mode that you can adjust with your paddle shifters here. Piano black plastic surrounding, also piano black plastic up on the actual knob itself, but you have that little copper accent, which I think is really nice. You also have copper accent stitching on this leatherette material in the center here, so you can switch through all of your different modes there. Let's talk about the accented trim real quick. They replaced all of the chrome bits with what they're calling gunmetal gray accents, and it's absolutely fantastic. I much prefer this over chrome any day. It's very subtle, looks very premium versus chrome, which I think has actually twisted its reputation. It used to mean premium, and now I just think it means cheap, in my opinion. But having this gunmetal gray accent looks very, very cool, and I really think it fits with the whole theme of the Wilderness here. Moving on back, you've got 2 cup holders. I've got my water bottle, my Starbucks in here, nice deep cup holders, and they do have these little pucks that you can remove so you can easily wash these. You have a leatherette center console here with some more copper accent stitching. As far as audio systems go, you really are just stuck with the base audio system here. You do not have the option for the Harman Kardon premium audio system here on the Wilderness, which is for a lot of people a real disappointment. The standard system is fine, but it's definitely not the Harman Kardon system. Now let's talk about the seating surfaces. These seats are absolutely awesome. This is Subaru's StarTex weather repellent material here, which again, perfect. And it's got this really cool hexagonal shape on it that's unique to the Wilderness, and that really blends everything together with those LED fog lights and then bringing it in here to the seating surfaces. I really think these seats are super comfortable, and they're really hard to get dirty, which is really nice, especially if you have kids or you're taking it off-road or camping or anything like that, or even with pets. You also have the Subaru Wilderness badge pressed into the leather headrest here, which is fantastic. Copper accent stitching again. These seats are great. They're a 10-way power adjustable driver's seat with 2-way lumbar support, but no position memory. Keep that in mind. If you are looking at one of these, you're gonna have to move up to the Touring to get that. And you do not have ventilated seats here on the Wilderness, only heated seats. But your passenger seat is also power adjustable as well, which is a nice touch. In the back seat, you do have rear vents. You have 2 USB ports back there, and you do have heated rear seats, which is fantastic, especially if you are going through the mountains or something and it's a little bit chilly up there. Your backseat passengers can stay warm. It has the same StarTex weather repellent seats back there as well. Let's go ahead and take the Wilderness out for a test drive. All right, guys, let's take the Wilderness here for a little bit of a spin. So like I said, you'll notice there's a little Subaru Wilderness badge that pops up on startup. So we'll push the standard push to start. There it is. Gauges will flip, and we are ready to go. So like I said, outside, there is a noticeable difference in the ground clearance here. You definitely feel like you're higher up, and the hood looks much higher up than it does on your standard Outback. So that's a noticeable difference as soon as you hop in. That 2.4 liter turbocharged engine, again, nice pep in the acceleration too. We'll give it a little juice once we get out here on this road. Pretty sweet. Feels good. For their really sticky, oh, stop. Subaru is known for their sticky brakes. They're definitely, one thing I noticed when I switched from my Subaru Crosstrek over to a Chevy, I really noticed the difference. I was completely used to the very, very aggressive braking style in my Crosstrek, and you just don't really get that in many other vehicles, but it's nice here, definitely in the Outback. Let's again give it a little more juice over here. it just sounds mean too. I like the way they have that tuned. The sound is great. Yeah, you'll have no problem, not only on the street, passing and things like that, but also on the trail, going through, you know, decently tall water too from some of the videos I've seen, but I'm not gonna take this one out in the water just because it's a dealership car and someone's gonna come buy this and I don't want it, you know, some puddle up underneath it when I'm done with it, but you can definitely do some serious off-roading in this. So you can see over here on the infotainment screen, you've got your roll angle indicators here, as well as your different systems that are actually active. But visibility is always great in these Subarus. There is so much glass around here. Very, very few blind spots. There's, you know, the A-pillar here is a little bit of a blind spot, but you do have this extra window here that gives you more visibility to where it would normally be just kind of blocked off here. So honestly, not even that big of a blind spot there on the A-pillar side, but nice, big, easy, clear front windshield. Pretty large back windshield as well to see right through. Unfortunately, I can't really test the dual X mode just because, you know, I don't really have a lot of good off-road area over here where I am. I'm gonna take it back in this area a little bit and try and go off-road a little bit. Might get a little bumpy here on the camera, so just keep that in mind. This thing is mean. You can really feel the additional acceleration out of the 2.4 liter turbocharged that we have here. So really good job across the board as far as the driving experience goes. You guys really should test drive this one for yourself because it's fantastic. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Drop a like on the video if you loved it. Tell me in the comments down below, what do you think about the 2022 Subaru Outback Wilderness? Let's have a conversation down in the comments. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to be among the first to see every single new video the second I hit publish. We'll see you in the next one.